Hello, I am Silvana Candela. I'm a licensed acupuncturist, I'm an author, and I'm a publisher. And my message to you is that we are healing ourselves to heal the world. And that is my overall theme throughout my videos. Today I'm speaking to you about the healing power of speaking your truth or sharing, basically. There are effective ways of sharing our truth, and how we do that to help heal ourselves and others, and how we can raise the frequency and vibration of a situation, of people, of ourselves, that we can bring out the best in everybody and healing for everybody. And what goes around comes around. So when we heal ourselves, we do heal the world. So how do we do that? What are some good ways of sharing our truth? Because it is our truth, as you know, the truth shall set us free. Yes, it does. And I'm sure you've all heard that. So, where does the truth come from? I think I'd like to begin with that. Before we can share it, we need to know where within it comes from. Well, it comes from, now this is my opinion, but also based on, other people's opinions and what I've studied, learned, and experienced. Okay, and others believe this too and talk about it, share about it, and write about it. It comes from within. And when I say within, I mean the higher part of ourself that is within, that connects with the higher part of outside. So, an easy way to understand that, if you're a person of faith, it would be the God within and the God without, and that connection that we have. And in traditional Chinese medicine, that is referred to as the Shen. The Shen is the God out without and outside, the universe God, the universal God. And it is also the part of ourselves within our own soul, also called the Shen, that connects to the God outside. Isn't that a lovely thing? Because it also goes along with a lot of Judeo-Christian and other, thoughts, religions, and so on, of the God within and the God without, which I really think is nice. It's like a really universal theme. Um, so how do we recognize that? How do we get in touch with that? Well, one of the ways, and the way we're going to talk about today, is through sharing, voicing out loud to another our deeper selves. Bearing your soul to somebody else is another way of putting it. And the way I like to start with that is to consider who we share with, because that's very important. Being comfortable with the person that you've chosen to share your inner self with. This person cannot be judgmental. Very important. Pick somebody, whether it's a professional, your spiritual advisor, counselor, family, or friend. Um, you have to pick somebody who you can trust, who's not going to, uh, judge. Well, in a word, judge you. Who's not going to hurt you? That's with your own words, because that's really what it's about. You need to be able to bring this out and forward. It's going to be sensitive things, painful things, because that's what leads us to the truth within ourselves, looking at our pain, our suffering, but bringing it out and sharing it with others. So find somebody that you can trust. And if you, and this is really important, if you're sharing with somebody, let's say a professional or whatever, anyone, and you don't feel right about that person, trust yourself and your own judgment and find somebody else. Don't take it to heart if what you're hearing, feedback or whatever from the other person, is not helping, is not making you feel elevated. And that's not the same as enabling, okay? That means that you're releasing and feeling better from it. Enabling is when somebody basically just agrees with you and allows you to continue harboring resentments and all that stuff. That's not what we're talking about here. Getting at your truth is a painful thing, but the person that you share with, it really is important that you have a trust going on, a trust situation. And if not, then, like I said, trust yourself enough to say no, thank you, and find somebody else, because it will be somebody else, who's going to be very good and just right for you. Um, so first, we're going to release the darkness. Now, there's different ways of looking at this. In psychology, it's called catharsis. In everyday lingo, it's called dumping or spilling. Just getting the dunk out, basically. And that can be very, very helpful. We need to do that. It's very hard if you're to get at your truth when you've got all this junk in the way blocking you from seeing. It's kind of like a roadblock. Well, you got to move it out of the way, you know. So you dump, you share, you spill, whatever. And when you do that, and there's a sense of release and relief, which is good. You may cry, you may scream, you may yell, or whatever. Then there comes a point where you're tired, and then you're ready to start receiving wisdom. So you don't want to just go on, dumping, 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 because eventually, if you just continue to dump without receiving, you're going to find more things to dump. It's not really going to fill you with what you need to fill that void. You don't want to fill that void with more junk, you know? You want to fill it with wisdom. And the wisdom, and that's actually the harder part. The dumping is easy. We all do that all the time. But don't we? Well, I shouldn't say all. I do that a lot, okay? Um, when you receive, you really have to um, take an honest look at yourself and in a trusting way. Whether you write it first, you may want to do that. You may want to journal first and then read it to the other person. Or if you feel comfortable just speaking to the other person. Now, you can also, we say, and I do this, talk out loud to myself, to God, to an animal friend, and I've done all of the above, that's okay too, but there's a certain importance, there's a certain kind of healing that happens when you share with one other person. And it's good to do that too. So as I was saying, you can either do that directly to gain the wisdom, just to seek to basically say, okay, this is what I've done wrong. This is where, not to judge yourself, but this is where I can do things better. This is what I did this is where I call the cause and effect. Okay, I did A and it caused B to happen. There's a non-judgmental way of saying it. But you can look at that and then say, now what can I learn from it? Learning is the way of not judging yourself, of really saying, okay, I'm human. It's okay. It's okay that this happened. Now, how can I do it different? What lesson am I learning from this? Am I meant to learn? And one of the things that I really feel helps me when I start looking at those questions is, how can I do something different that I would have to share with somebody else, where I can help somebody else through my own lessons? Because that to me is very important, very, very important. Um, if I feel like anything that I've suffered with, if I can learn from it through releasing and sharing and all the other tools that we use, in a way that not only helps me, but then I can turn around and give that to others, and it will have been totally worthwhile. And that's when we learn to improve on our love and compassion for our fellow humans, because we will also be there for that person in a compassionate and loving way when they need to share and dump and spill their stuff because they're hurting. And then we can be a guiding light for that person also out of the darkness. So that's a really, really important thing. Um, we can do our sharing in one-on-one and sometimes in a group setting or sometimes in public speaking. Now, what you're going to say public speaking is probably going to be different from, one-on-one. But the main thing, the difference that I see in most, unless it's a group therapy session or like a 12-step program or whatever, that's a different kind of thing. You are sharing from your weakness. You're giving up, you're giving away, you're opening up your weakness and being vulnerable. It's a little bit like that too, to speak your truth and share in public, like I'm doing with you now. This is a public forum, the internet, YouTube. There's a difference there where you're sharing from your strength and you're not going to necessarily, at least not what I'm saying, for healing purposes. You're giving your strength, what you've learned, your wisdom, you're giving back when you share, generally speaking, in this kind of forum on a public level. So consider all that you've learned when you're sharing your truth. This is your truth then that you've gotten in touch with. And it is very, very, very powerful because it's come from your own pain and your own healing. And you know that we are not unique. We are not unique. What I'm feeling, you're feeling, and somebody else is feeling. We like to think that we're the only ones, that are going through. No. Especially, and I'd like to say as a group thing, as a worldwide thing right now, we're all going through COVID together. And there's a lot of loneliness and isolation and fear and all kinds of things, frustration, anger. So, you've all been there. You're all going with it, each in our own way. We each have our own issues that we're being affected by, from COVID. So we're learning our own lessons, and it's hard. I don't need to tell anybody out there, it is very hard what we're going through. But as we do that and as we learn to cope with different things, think of the strength and the love and the giving and the sharing that we can give to each other from our own experiences, whether it's how to cope with the extreme isolation and loneliness, which is what I'm going through because I live alone. So that's my issue. That's my challenge with COVID. Or if it's dealing with a financial loss and the fears of that, not having enough food, if you've got health issues that are related, anything that you can, learn from that and get in touch with that pain and, reach inside to your higher self and outside to the higher self. You're learning something valuable to give to others, and it's so, so worth it. People need that. We all need that right now. It is about getting past the fear of that because it's scary. Looking at our truth, looking at our pain is a scary thing. It's not easy, okay? Um, but it is so well worth it. And that's why it's important to do things in a protective way for yourself. And that's going to be the subject of the next video that I'm doing, which is going to be about using a couple of meditations. And I talk about all of this in my book, Gently Heal Thyself. Everything that I'm sharing with you, I have, in a little more detail in my book. Um, but about the meditation, it isn't just sitting there. This is a very specific kind of meditation. It's about raising your frequency, raising your vibration. And Dr. Bruce Lipton and Dr. David Hawkins and Greg Braden, those of you, and Carolyn Mace, people like that talk about that a lot. Joe Dispenza, I don't want to leave anyone out. But these are people who, if you follow them or listen to what they have to say on the internet, on YouTube, um, or if you've read their books, Power versus Force is amazing by David Hawkins. I mean, wow, blow your socks off. But you'll understand what it is to raise your frequency and your vibration and just how powerful and positive it is. And this all comes from the truth within. And then when you speak it and when you share it, that spoken word is, it's like you're breathing life into somebody else's troubles and what they need to hear from you. And that's really, really awesome. Um, so you're allowing the love, power, and strength from within you, to be the healing force so that you are the healing force. You become the healing force. The To raise your own vibration and frequency, you are healing your high, sharing from your highest self of the God within. I just wanted to repeat that because it is really important, and it's going to dovetail right into my next video about how you do that, how you raise your frequency. There are meditations that we do, and I'm going to go through at least one, if not two, that they're similar. Okay. Um, so I hope you can find a way of doing that in a comfortable setting, in a comfortable way. Think about those who need you and who need to hear that from you. Share with kindness. Oh, that was another thing I want to mention. Share with kindness. If you're having an issue with somebody and you need to, have it out with them, so to speak, try not to be too confrontational, but rather understand that we're all human. We all come from a place basically inside of caring, and we want to be gentle with each other when we confront or share our truths in a way that may turn out to be a little bit sticky. Okay, so just consider how the other person may be hurting too, and how would you like to be spoken to, and that's for the confrontational kind of sharing, which is not what I've been focused on, but that happens too when you're sharing and speaking your truth. That can come out even from the person that you're talking to, even with the best of intentions, that'll come out. So just remember kindness, love, compassion, and we're all just doing the best we can. And in closing, I would like to say thank you very much for listening, for letting me share with you. I do have my book, Gently Heal Thyself, on for sale on Amazon for those who are interested. And I love, love, love that you are spending your time, willing to spend your time listening and sharing and just being a part of my life in the way that you all are, that each and every one of you is a part of my life. And I thank you so much, and blessings to you. And until the next, thank you. Take care.